Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Mobi with Lifestyle TV USA, and today we have great guest. Let's welcome Jackie Smith from UK. How are you, Jackie?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Good to join us and tell us about your journey. Tell what motivated you to start this project.
Well, I, like probably many people in the world, I've had 9 to 5 jobs forever, really. And I found it was quite a stress actually on me. And I did some training in 2017, and I realised after I'd done this training, this coaching training, that actually there are other ways of earning a living. You don't have to just go to work 9 to 5 and just do what you like, do what you're told to do, really. You can create your own job. And then I learned how to help people come up with their own self-employment ideas and to design their own job, full or part-time, and learn to get paid in any industry, really. And that's what I've been doing probably for the last 3 years now. But I found work an incredible stress, 9 to 5. It had a bearing on my health. It wasn't very good. So I needed to change quite drastically.
Okay, well, I'm glad you not only found a way, but you're also motivating and teaching and inspiring so many people. Congratulations on that. So tell us a little bit about your program. I know we have website here below us, so please check our website. But tell us a little bit about your program.
Okay, it's essentially I did this training with a lady called Dr. Valerie Young, and she's very well known in the United States for the concept of when people have imposter syndrome. She speaks at Google and places like that, but she did this training program called to help people design their own businesses, and she did it in a sort of a 7-step program. And if you work through the 7-step program, you can't really go wrong. And people are sort of trying to find business ideas or self-employment. You're often sat there thinking, well, what can I do? What can I do? And often the answer is right under your nose.
Mm-hmm. That is true. Most of people look for solutions elsewhere when they have the solution right underneath.
Absolutely. Yes, you're sitting on it most of the time, really. But we're frightened that we can't, we're frightened of ourselves, really. We're frightened of actually standing in our own power and going, do you know what, I can do this.
And tell us also a little bit about your professional life, or what you have worked during your years.
Well, I won't. This is a reason I thought that I couldn't ever do anything myself, was because I'd class what I had was like a regular job. I often saw, all these programs where people had left 6-figure businesses and they'd got this amount of money to start a business, and I just had a regular administration job. I worked for public and private sectors. I was only like the lady in the corner doing the typing and that sort of thing. So I never felt as though I had anything to give in particular. So just a very normal work, no degree, average education. So and I think, well, if I could do it, everybody could do it, really.
Yeah, that speaks a volume. Also, tell us a little bit about your journey so far. You said you have helped a lot of people create and work on the job. Some of the templates are below us, so we can check that out while you're talking.
Yeah, well, I've helped people quite literally just kind of look at themselves and kind of point out the obvious quite often. I take them through a process of this 7 steps, as I say, which is essentially you've got to look at your big picture. Until you know what kind of life that you want to live, it's very difficult to pick a business, because if you just say, well, I'm going to do this business because it's a really good idea, you might find that actually you're killing yourself and you're worse off than the job that you're in between 9 and 5 sometimes. So the key thing was to kind of look at what do you want your life to look like, really? Do you want to work part-time? Do you want to work full-time? Do you want to work 9 months of the year in one place and travel for 3 months? That sort of thing. Do you want to, if you're an introvert, you might actually want to take people out of your job altogether, really, and not have to deal with, real life situations and customers. You can just you can do things in different ways.
Mm-hmm. And so tell us some of the problems people face. One thing you have mentioned, they're working 9 to 5,
Yeah,
and they don't think out of the box that there could be another life, right?
that's correct. I mean, I'll take myself as an example. I look after my mum full time, so I can no longer work 9 to 5. So what I do in terms of coaching, I can work around the hours that she needs me. But I know some people who want to work 24/7. Really, they just love working, and they're very happy to put in as much time as they like because it's their own business. Whereas when they sat in their office with a boss hanging over them, they just didn't want to do that at all. But they found this newfound enthusiasm because they could do what they wanted. Some people want to travel and work online. Some people want to. I had a friend who wanted to start a bakery, so she started a bakery. Another friend who wanted to do baking but didn't want to go anywhere near a bakery. She just wanted to. In the end, it transpired. She actually just wanted to take photographs of cakes and food. That's what we kind of narrowed it all down to. And that's the thing, is often you've kind of got a big picture thinking and you need to perhaps just narrow it down. And when you put it with the kind of lifestyle that you want to lead, you realize that, the thing you wanted to do over here, number one, might end up being an entirely different sort of business, because when you marry it up with your lifestyle, it doesn't fit in. The first idea doesn't fit in.
So how do you keep yourself, well? And I understand you're in better health now. So you realize that some of the job, because of your situation, it was getting into your health, right? So
Absolutely. Oh, my health was terrible. I ended up on antidepressants, migraine, severe migraine, and it almost came to the point where I couldn't really go to work at all. It was just all too much. And of course, if you're in that situation with stress, your office doesn't like that. The world is not built for people who can't cope with it, really. But I think then it was time to take a step back and think, how can I live life in a different way?
So I'm sure at that time you were thinking, you were going, work, and you were thinking what time it will end. And so it was getting too much on your mind all the time, right? So because the balance was gone, I guess the balance between your demand for your personal life was kind of getting worse with your health and so forth, right?
Well, my health, and then my mother needed requirements, and I've also got a husband who has his own issues with things, and it just all became too much. So when I started to look around for a different solution, and as I said, I met Valerie and learned this sort of process, I realised that you've got to decide, in order to go forward, you've got to decide what you want first. People often look at it the wrong way around and think, well, I've got to find a business or a different way of working. But it's got to slot in your life. It's like life first, work second, so that work becomes a joy rather than a chore.
Yeah, and that is important because, a lot of people don't realize that they are in and they are working, but they don't realize that how the work is impacting their health. And that's a very important topic. Occupational health, and they are kind of dragging into that, race, and they don't want to come out of that because, of course, they have to feed and, themselves and so forth.
Yeah.
But there's a good news. The good news is that if you think of, and like yourself, if you have become a little more creative on that, aspect. And then there is not only that you can find a way, but also actually help a lot of people, right? And so finances wise, I always say, we think that we are the humans, and we can feed, or we are responsible for each other, or so forth, or money wise. But actually, that's the only species on this planet which is still hungry. And then you look at the birds and animals, they don't have currency and they don't have anything,
Exactly.
but they are not hungry. They have very good food. So think of that, so it's not the end of the world, what I mean to say.
I understand. I think a lot of the time, Dr. Mobi, people have got to kind of to move forward, you've got to stop and take yourself out of your situation sometimes, because while you're in it, sitting on the train into work every day, you can't think straight. I think the first thing I'd suggest to people is they just take themselves, if they're in that position, right out and go and sit in the countryside if they can, and start to think differently. Because the whole process to make yourself happier is to think differently. And if you keep doing what you've always done, you'll get what you've always had, I think is a saying. And it's important that people, yes, we worry about money, but if you start to really think, what do I need the money for? Yeah, okay, you may have children, but are you, because you're unhappy, funding your lifestyle with going out, drinking, buying clothes, something to soothe the pain, really, often. And when you can realize, actually, what am I spending my money on? Sometimes you realize that perhaps you don't need it. Therefore, you need less money to live on. I think we can find we can live on a bit less than we think we can.
Yeah, and that's what probably brings us another discussion on COVID. So
Yes.
Okay, so tell us how COVID has changed some of the perspective in UK.
It's a lot of people have now lost their jobs. In fact, we had the most recent employment figures where people across the board have just lost their jobs, particularly in the hospitality world, which I think is the biggest thing. A lot of people are furloughed. I don't know if it's the same in the United States, but people are getting paid to stay in their job. But hospitality, I think, has just been decimated. So these people, God love them, have got to perhaps think in a different way. What can they use their hospitality skills in? Or can I look at life in a different way? It's terrible, really.
Yeah, and that is true. It really have decimated a lot of certain areas. Even in US, those restaurants, they're never gonna come back. There are so many chains. Absolutely. So that's that. But best, there's the best and the worst out of this. Best is we have each other, and people have appreciated more love of each other, caring for their family and friends, and so basically it comes down to basics and the most essential thing for somebody, and that's like yourself, you take care of your mom, and that's the most important thing. Same thing, a lot of people realize that they were not spending a lot of time, they were maybe on the road a lot, maybe now the business has slowed down. So it probably, it's and then not to mention the environment, the pollution, less cars on the roads, right?
Yeah, I think Venice, isn't it? Venice has got clear canals for the very first time ever. So there are some positives, of course. Yes, there are, very much so.
And then you fish are back, in Venice. So fish are back, and then imagine that.
Sadly, we can't travel to Venice. I think that's.
So I think a lot of people don't realize, but there is some good, of course, coming. And not to mention, we were before, of course, we practice medicine, and we were always telling patients to wash their hands and ourselves, of course, but nobody would do it as much. But now everybody is washing.
Sure,
Everybody is washing hands. So imagine when we used to have flu before, we would say, wear mask if you're sick and so forth, but nobody would pay attention. Now everybody is, and you'll be realize. I don't know if you follow the figures in Australia. The flu was the mildest.
Yes, yes, I have been watching that actually. Yes, yeah,
So the reason is because the same precautions, washing hand, mask, and distancing, applies to flu too.
yeah,
And 10 other disease too.
yes, it does. Yeah, I've
So,
got.
so,
I
so
must
you
wash
don't.
my hands 10 times a day now.
I know. We all.
Yeah,
So that is. I would say there is some. But if we think of beating COVID, actually you can beat with the basics. Okay, you
yeah.
don't need to be. Yeah, well, hand washing. Hand washing is basic technique. There's nothing. Social distancing and just covering. Those are the basic things. I mean, you can really beat a lot of disease by just the basics. You don't need to have a lot of medications or for that, right? So those are
Oh,
basic.
yeah, I agree. Yes, I agree with you. It's difficult when you've got lots of people. I mean, in Britain, we've been really hammered with the pubs have closed in certain cities. Certain cities are worse than others, and so they've just said you can't go to the pub because you've got absolutely no control when you've had a few drinks, have you really? So it's probably the best option.
Yeah, well, there were actually the highest risk of COVID was spread from pubs and
Yeah,
restaurants. So that's true. So those are the one probably were super spreaders in my opinion.
yeah,
Those for
yeah.
so they cut that down. So people are doing less, but probably they're less drinking. Hopefully, not drinking too much at home either. So
Oh, I don't know. I think they've made it at home.
okay, so it's the other way. And the other important thing is it also put an emphasis on health. So
Yeah, that's
a
true. Yeah.
lot of health issues. People who have hypertension or they have also a problem with their health, the diabetes, overweight, and so forth. They were the one actually having complications. So then again, it put emphasis on how well we take care of our health and better sleep, of course. Sleeping actually, if you're sleeping less, and there was also study about so of course, a lot of viral infection can happen also if
Mm.
you sleep less. So sleep is important. And then same stand for diet and exercise. Those are right now very important in terms of your overall uh, you know um, uh, those oral health. So those are important things to consider when we talk about COVID. Not only COVID, a lot of other problems.
I
So
think as well that people working from home has helped in certain areas because it's perhaps lowered people's stress levels. No commuting, and it's a good thing in some areas and not so good in others, isn't it? It's good if you want to work from home and you don't have to go in the office. It's difficult if you've got a job where you can't work from home because that's very stressful, I would imagine. But my husband is now working from home and his stress levels are way down now.
way down. But on the other hand, certain people they are more stressful at home because now their spouse or
Yeah.
family.
Depends, doesn't it? Yeah. If you've got children at home, it's a bit of a nightmare, isn't it? I suppose. But,
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think we had a couple of psychiatrists on our show, and they said
yeah.
it was like a pressure cooker before, and then there was safety valve, those job they'll
Yeah.
go, but now
Yeah.
those safety valves are gone, so they're
Yeah.
cooking too too much.
Yeah. And if you haven't got an office you can shut the door on, then you're really in trouble, aren't you? So
I know.
yeah.
I know, but that
Yeah.
is, like anything. You're right. Some certain people they were under more stress because they had to wake up on certain time or commute for an hour or so, and then
Yeah.
that would make it difficult. But overall, I think I would just go back to what you have said: is that there is another life or which you can actually seek and do it if you look for it and be
Yeah.
creative on that, and you can really find another source of income. Not only that, like yourself, right? So
Yeah.
so tell us, what is your routine now? Do you have to get up early, or?
No, it depends. It depends who I'm talking to. Sometimes if people are in Australia, I might have to, because that's 24 hours ahead. That could alter the day for me. But most of the time, if I'm talking to somebody in America or in Europe, then I can just, like today, it's 20 past 4. We had a conversation starting at 4 o'clock, and that's perfect for me because my husband's now taking over my mum. He's finished his work for the day, and it's all okay. Occasionally, I have to kind of turn myself upside down, but generally, I'm at home and relaxed, really, and I'm kind of enjoying life as opposed to waking up and thinking I can't stand another day of this, really. So,
Mhm. So that really kind
mm.
of got some of the better kind of avenue out of all this, so for sure. So tell us your any final tips you have for our audience before.
If people need to do something about their work life and want to learn to design their own job, then obviously head across to my website and look at the template because it'll give you the steps. But I want to emphasize to people, you really can change your life if you need to. You just have to take some time out, and you've got to put some work in. It won't come to you, but if you really are determined, there is a way. You might not have as much money as you wanted to start with, and it might not all be. It takes time, but I would say look at yourself in a year's time and say, if I don't start today, in 12 months' time, will I look back and think, I wish I'd started that today? Because you're going to be in the same position in 12 months, probably. So
Those are the ones. Yeah, that's true. There's another way of doing things, and it might not bring the same money, but still you'll be happier for sure. So if
yeah,
you
happiness and health, and we tend to be in a rut, and you need to just kind of learn to change the routine, change what you do things differently, and you'll be surprised what you can achieve, really.
Mhm. Okay, it was a pleasure meeting you, and thank you for coming to our show. Thank you for talking to our audience.
All right, take care.
Take care, and
Bye for now.
give us feedback and so forth. Take care. Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye. Bye.